Good evening. It's Facebook Love number 8083. How are you? I'm a bit late today and a little flustered. It was just one of those days, and I'm one of those people who gets flustered. I was thinking about what is top of mind today, and the impression that I am having is that there's a lot of upset over things being different. I see everything from grief and upset that we have a virus that is affecting not just our culture but the whole world, and makes us all feel very unsure of what the future might hold and how we're going to do things, which we should be thinking about. And then in response to that, sometimes I hear public figures and just regular folks sort of pouting and stamping their feet and denying that any of it's going on because it doesn't affect me. So there's that. The other thing that I think about is that through all of this, it doesn't seem to be breaking into the public consciousness very well. The coronavirus is in many ways caused by things like our over-reliance on animal protein as a food source, and that it causes us to encroach on nature in ways that are not sustainable. And since I care a lot about the environment and about climate change, etc., it just sort of dovetails into my concerns and my wonders and worries. And then the other thing that I seem to be clocking is a lot of pouting and stamping of feet regarding whether the Black Lives Matter movement is real or necessary. Whether or not we're supposed to see color, as if it's not valid to see someone else's self, the body they live in, and then to listen to them talk about the way that their life goes because of how folks respond to who they are. Which is infuriating because well before it was like a big topic in public, way back in my earliest years of college, I was making friends with African Americans and Filipinos, like from the Philippines, not Americans, Indonesians, people from India, people from all over the world, and they would, in our normal conversation, talk about what it felt like to be amongst all these, as they would say to me, I'm not making this up, what it's like being with all you white people. And even in high school where I grew up, it wasn't that diverse, but there was some diversity, and some of my friends were really frank, you know, when we were just hanging out or having a sleepover about what their experience was like. Not looking like this. So anyway, all that's been on my mind, and I'm just thinking about the idea of Armageddon and what that really means, like the end of the world as we know it. So I found a poem by a writer from Australia named Judith Wright, and Australia is so unique because there's all kinds of stuff on that continent that doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. And they are experiencing massive damage from climate change. She wrote this piece, I believe, in 1966 about the end of the world. This is called Eve to Her Daughters. It was not I who began it, turned out into drafty caves, hungry so often, having to work for our bread, hearing the children whining. I was nevertheless not unhappy. Where Adam went, I was fairly content to go. I adapted myself to the punishment. It was my life. But Adam, you know, he kept on brooding over the insult, over the trick they had played on us, over the scolding. He had discovered a flaw in himself, and he had to make up for it. Outside Eden, the earth was imperfect. The seasons changed, the game was fleet-footed. He had to work for our living, and he didn't like it. He even complained of my cooking. It was hard to compete with heaven. So he set to work. The earth must be made a new Eden, with central heating, domesticated animals, mechanical harvesters, combustion engines, escalators, refrigerators, and modern means of communication, and multiplied opportunities for safe investment and higher education for Abel and Cain and the rest of the family. You can see how his pride had been hurt. In the process, he had to unravel everything because he believed that mechanism was the whole secret. He was always mechanical-minded. He got to the very inside of the whole machine, exclaiming as he went, "So this is how it works. And now that I know how it works, why, I must have invented it. As for God and the other, they cannot be demonstrated. And what cannot be demonstrated doesn't exist. You see, he had always been jealous. Yes, he got to the center where nothing at all can be demonstrated, and clearly he doesn't exist, but he refuses to accept the conclusion. You see, he was always an egotist. It was warmer than this in the cave. There was none of this fallout. I would suggest, for the sake of the children, that it's time you took over. But you are my daughters. You inherit my own faults of character. You are submissive, following Adam even beyond existence. Faults of character have their own logic, and it always works out. I observed this with Abel and Cain. Perhaps the whole elaborate fable, right from the beginning, is meant to demonstrate this. Perhaps it's the whole secret. Perhaps nothing exists but our faults. At least they can be demonstrated. But it's useless to make such a suggestion to Adam. He has turned himself into God, who is faultless and doesn't exist. Eve to Her Daughters by Judith Wright. I'm thinking about what's changing, what's never coming back, how it's gonna go. This is Facebook Love. I'll see you again.